Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to the Sugarman Sports Complex in Fort Lee, New Jersey. As today it's a matchup in the Big North America Division. Two arch rivals squaring off as the Cliffside Park Red Raiders, 4-0-1 on the season, have come calling to take on the Fort Lee Bridgemen, 2-3-1 on the campaign. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Long, joined alongside by Dimitri Nanis and Kelly Lane. So glad that he could join us here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel, as we are your broadcast home for Fort Lee Athletics. The Bridgemen 2-3-1 on the season. They're trying to snap a two-game losing skid on the season, while Cliffside Park is red hot. They come in having won their last 4 in a row. Last meeting between these two sides came on October 10th of 2022. Cliffside Park won 3-1 here at Sugarman Sports Complex. They also swept with the 2-1 victory at home last year as well. So Cliffside Park has had the better of this contest and this rivalry, and they're going to be trying to keep the good times rolling here today as they still want to remain unbeaten on the season. Fort Lee lost 7-3 against Tenafly, the only team that had tied Cliffside Park so far this season. They had tied Tenafly 2-2 in their season opener. 7-3 loss for the Bridgemen, that coming in off a 2-0 loss in the previous game against Bergenfield. So Fort Lee is looking for their first win since they last defeated Paramus Catholic on September 14th. Cliffside Park will be in their white kits with the red numerals. The black numerals outlined in red, while Fort Lee is going to be in their home black kits with the outlined orange numerals. As we are, again, moments away from the start of today's game. It has been a cold, drizzly, and wet couple of days here in northern New Jersey. 61 degrees going to be the temperature here at opening kickoff. As again, we're so glad that you could join us wherever you may be to listen and watch to this broadcast, courtesy of the Fort Lee Athletic Department. Fort Lee would love nothing more than to spoil the unbeaten season so far for Cliffside Park. We might have a delay here, as might be a bit of a scoreboard malfunction going on before the start of opening kickoff. Last season, Cliffside Park had a outstanding season, 13-2-3 overall record, but then they got tripped up in the quarterfinals of the state playoffs. They lost to Mendham 1-0 in the North 2 Group 3 quarterfinals. Their only other loss on the season came against Tenafly earlier on in their campaign. So by Cliffside Park's lofty standards, that was a missed opportunity to do something in potentially a championship campaign. And for Fort Lee, they went 8-9-2 overall last season and finished second in the American Division behind these very Red Raiders. First meeting of the season between these two. They'll meet again on October 23rd in Cliffside Park. So we are underway with Fort Lee and Cliffside Park duking it out here at the Sugarman Sports Complex. Again, the time right now is going to be kept on the field by the two officials, as there was no ability here with the malfunction of the scoreboard at the sports complex. So we beg your patience to Find out along with us how much time is going to be left in the half. But we are just underway, a 4 p.m. kickoff here from Fort Lee. It'll be a throw into the near side for Cliffside Park's Daniel Gomez. As that's going to be whistled. It's a violation against Cliffside Park. Would have been a little push, and now it's going to be a free kick upcoming here for the Bridgemen. Fort Lee led by Demba Main in his 12th season at his alma mater. He led Fort Lee to the county and state playoff wins in 2021. It was one of their best seasons in program history, leading them to 12 wins that year a couple of seasons ago. Played into the midfield as Marcus Lee, number 11, got a touch of it. Here's Lee now as it's sent over to the near side. Played forward and trying to get a touch of it as Fort Lee has that escape their grasp. Kenta Watanabe was the one who's trying to pass that one up from the back line over to the near side. Ricocheted forward. Here's Lee now heading it over to space. Trying to get it over to Kato Shinoda. Here's Shinoda, number 10, who has the possession. To the near side, Watanabe. Again, off the mark, as that's going to be intercepted by the back line defense of Cliffside Park. Both teams trying to jockey for position and possession in the midfield. Watanabe again with trying a heel kick over to the near side. Tasia Rapaic was trying to win back possession for the Bridgemen. As that goes out of bounds to the near side, will be a throw-in here in the offensive third of the field for the Bridgemen. So Fort Lee with the first opportunity, but it's headed out of harm's way by Cliffside Park as they get it up top to Davi Dos Santos, number 10. Dos Santos with 2 goals on the season for Cliffside Park. Trying to track down that mistake over to the far side. He has a pair of defenders on him. Dos Santos doing a good job of dribbling through traffic, though. It's led and eventually is brought back to Fort Lee. Starting goalie today, Max Kurtumov, booting it away for Fort Lee. Now it's going to be a possession upcoming for Cliffside Park on the set piece and the free kick. Aaron Busick is the keeper on the other side of the pink uniform for Cliffside Park. Busick with 10 saves on the season. Set piece delivery pops straight up in the air. And Fort Lee will clear it away. Out of bounds, close to midfield. Again, time being kept on the field, the scoreboard not functioning right now here at the Sugarman Sports Complex. So the officials are taking control of that. About 5 minutes gone by here in the first half, scoreless between Cliffside Park and Fort Lee. Thanks for joining us on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. A rivalry renewed here this afternoon as Fort Lee trying to get a big-time win here today. It would be their signature win of the season. Some contact and a foul whistled. Now the Bridgemen trying to pass it over to the far side. Good anticipation here by Cliffside Park as they go down the other way. Now with their counterattack, trying to slip it through that back line. They were trying to get it to Jeffrey Rua, number 17. Crossfield delivery off the left foot of Costa. That was knocked down by the Fort Lee back line. Over to the far side it goes. Cliffside Park doing a good job of holding off Fort Lee's advances that time, as Wilbur Morales was just kind of boxing him out. Sees that harmlessly roll out of bounds. It will go out for a goal kick. After opening up the season with a 2-2 tie against Tenafly, Cliffside Park has had wins against Ridgefield Park, Mahwah, Dumont, and Dwight Morrow, and 3 of those 4 wins have been only by 1-goal varieties, so they have a knack for playing and winning those 1-goal affairs so far to start off this season. Fort Lee, on the other hand, they open up their campaign in 2023 with 2 wins in their first 3 games. They defeated Dumont and Paramus Catholic with a 2-1 loss on the road against Dwight Morrow sandwiched in between. But since that win against Paramus Catholic on September 14th, the Birchmen tied Nutley in a scoreless draw, but then lost to Bergenfield 2-0 here at home before losing on the road 7-3 against Tenafly. So they want to desperately get back in the winner's circle here. Passed over to the far side. It's going to be knocked out of bounds. That's going to be a corner kick surrendered to Fort Lee. So the Bridgemen will have an opportunity with the first corner opportunity of the day for them. So the home team with a chance on a set piece on the far side corner flag. The wind swirling a little bit here throughout the complex. Fort Lee looking to orchestrate the first strike of the day. Curling ball's a good one. It's a volley and it just kept off the goal line on a bicycle kick by one of the defenders of Cliffside Park. That was beautiful execution by Fort Lee, but that leads to the trigger and the counterattack the other way, going all the way out. Oh, an aggressive play there made by Kurdomov. So Kurdomov makes the save on one end after Fort Lee was so close on the other side for striking for the first goal of the game. So things have started to really quicken in terms of the pace and the scoring opportunities. Off of the save on one end, it nearly led to a breakout goal the other side for Cliffside Park, but Kurdomov came off his line, cut down the angle, and made the save. So we remain scoreless here in the first half. Played over to the near side it goes. Watanabe. Try to feed it over to the far side, but Cliffside Park was playing offside advantage. The arm is up by the officials. It'll be possession back over to Cliffside Park. Carmine Carbieri is the head coach for the Red Raiders, and he made his message heard loud and clear on the far sideline to wake up for his side. He feels that they're not to his standards just yet here on the road. Headed forward, as now that's played out to space. Again, no score, great scoring opportunities just a couple of moments ago. As Cliffside Park with the possession here in the first half, about approaching, we would say, 10 minutes gone by. Again, we are without the use of the scoreboard here, so we are basing it on the time being officially kept on the field by the 2 referees here this afternoon. First of 2 meetings between these 2 sides. Again, they will finish off near the end of the regular season on October 23rd. Cliffside Park advanced to the semifinals of last season's 2022 Bergen County Soccer Tournament. Lost in penalty kicks to Ridgewood. Again, only were bested 2 total times last season. And one of those coming in the state playoffs in the quarterfinals, knocking them out and short-circuiting what many thought were going to be a potential sectional or even state championship season. And the whistle sounds. It's going to be possession for the Bridgemen. Again, in their black. They'll have a throw-in over to the near side. Watanabe setting that one in his lead, gets ahead on it. Marcus Lee, the junior, not able to get that open into the offensive box, wheeling around and making play. Henry Vallis was able to set it forward. Over to the near side. Now up top is Jeffrey Rua. Rua is the man who had that counterattack that led to the breakout the other way, only to be denied entry by Kurtimov. A throw in now for Cliffside Park. Again, we're in the first half. Scoreless soccer action between these two league rivals in the Big North America Division. Cliffside Park 4-0-1 on the season. Fort Lee 2-3-1. And it looks like a foul has been whistled, and with the spot of the ball, that is right on the line of the box. If it had been inside, that would have been a potential penalty. With the spot to the near side, it's going to be a three-man wall being set up now by Fort Lee. Walter Kurasic-Reyes is the man who's going to be stepping over the ball and setting up this delivery for Cliffside Park, number 12. Again, right now, it's right on the yellow line. If it had been deemed inside, that would have been enough for a goal. And, oh, just missing by inches was Reyes, as he was trying to hook that one in and didn't miss by much in the far post side. And that'll go out now for a goal kick, and Fort Lee benefits from Cliffside Park just missing by inches on that curling set piece. Mishit by the Bridgeman. That goes out of bounds. It's now going to be possession once again going over to Cliffside Park here in a scoreless first half. Knocked down. Popped forward again in the box. Fort Lee trying to track back and defend. They get it out to space, now trying to break out, but again, Cliffside Park is just choking the field. Daniel DeUrso, number 11, taking it wide near the corner flag. Centering ball to the top of the box. Chip shot attempt there by Skylar Carrick, and that goes out of play. It was deemed to have been deflected last touch off of a player from Fort Lee, so it's going to be a corner kick granted to Cliffside Park on the far side. The Joe Acosta. Acosta 2 goals, 1 assist for 5 points on the season. He's tied with Davi Dos Santos for the team lead in those offensive categories. As that's popped up. And that goes out of play. So Fort Lee getting back in the thick of things here. Ever since that corner kick, the game has changed a little bit where it's more heavily tilted in the offensive end of the field in Cliffside Park's favor. Bridgman on their heels a bit. Here's another entry into the zone. DeOrso on the far side. Centering ball. One-timer attempt just over the crossbar and out of play by Dos Santos. Again, if you're just joining us, we're watching the coverage of Cliffside Park versus Fort Lee in boys soccer action. The time is being kept on the field by the officials. It's scoreless still here in the first half. Cliffside Park has had a couple of great chances, and Fort Lee had a brilliant opportunity off of a corner earlier in this game that they were close to having a one-timer finish, only to have a defender save it over the goal line and get it back in the course of play. Played wide with it. Stepping up, Dos Santos briefly held the possession. Trying to slide in that time was Carrick. Ball's loose and popped up again as Fort Lee trying to gain the possession, but they just can't get to it. Now the Bridgeman playing it forward as Lee tried to venture over to that side. To the far side. And that goes out of bounds. Marcus Lee, number 11, was the one who was trying to track it down. So it's going to be a throw-in now in the offensive third of the field for the Bridgemen, who desperately need to maintain a little possession here on offense. Give their defense a breather, but as soon as I say that, that goes out of play. Last touch off of the Bridgemen. So now it's going to go out for a goal kick now for Cliffside Park. That foul whistled against the defense of Fort Lee for going over the back, so it's going to set up a set piece and a free kick around the 45-yard line. Eric Valdez will handle this kick now for the Red Raiders. He'll play it short over to the near side to Gomez. Gomez trying to link up with a teammate at the top of the box. It did fall down to an eventual shot opportunity by Reyes, but the shot went wide of the mark to the left side. So again, it goes out of bounds. It'll be a goal kick upcoming now here for Fort Lee. It's still scoreless. Time being kept on the field by the officials due to the shortage in the scoreboard here at the Sugarman Sports Complex, as that is sailed out of bounds and into the stands beneath us at the press box facility here at the Sugarman Sports Complex. Sent down the near side. Fort Lee again not taking any chances as they'll just jettison that one out of bounds to the near side. It'll set up a deep offensive zone throw-in upcoming for Cliffside Park. Max Kurtimov, the starting keeper in goal for Fort Lee, made a brilliant save on a breakaway opportunity. Cliffside Park has also had a couple of other great chances that have not missed by much on set pieces. As Fort Lee trying to break it out. There's a little push from behind. That foul will be called against Cliffside Park. So possession now here for Fort Lee as the Bridgemen bring it up the near side. Watanabe. Again, anytime that Fort Lee has held possession, they've gifted it right back very quickly. So Aaron Busick will kick this one away on the goalie kick. Knocked down to the far side. Again, a dark, dreary, and rainy day here in New Jersey. We have had a lot of those over the course of the last couple of weeks. The light tower is on here already. In the afternoon, we venture on. Want to track it down to the far side. They do get the possession to stay with Fort Lee as that went out of bounds. Last touch off of Cliffside Park. That was Marcus Lee, the junior on the far side wing, trying to administer that pressure. Looks like some subs being made for both sides. Offensive throw in now for Fort Lee. Square down and sent forward. Sent all the way back to the keeper. Kurtimov. Up top, Zamil Vagapov. Getting a touch of it, number 7 in black and orange. He's got 2 goals on the season as one of the offensive leaders for the Bridgemen. They'll try to get to him. He's lurking in the middle of the box right now, waiting for service. Pops over to the far side. Cliffside Park doing a good job of gaining access to the possession of the near side to Jose Ortega. Ortega, though, loses it right back as Landon Kaplan, number 8, won back possession. Again, another turnover forced by the hounding defense of Fort Lee. Here's Kaplan. Played backwards. Fort Lee's back line has been solid outside of that one counter on the breakaway off of the initial save on one end. Led to a breakout for Cliffside Park on the other end. That is the lone time that Fort Lee has not been in their normal defensive shape. As that is popped skyward and out of bounds to the far side. Time being kept on the field here in the first half. It's scoreless, though, between Cliffside Park and Fort Lee. Dan Long, Dimitri Nanis, Kelly Lane, glad you could join us here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. As that's played out of bounds. Last touch off of the Bridgeman. After this game, both teams will be hitting the road for their next contest. Cliffside Park will travel to Teaneck on the 28th, while Fort Lee will travel to Paramus to take on the Spartans. A throw in down the near side. Hitting into the back of Xavi Mock. As Mock could not get to his teammate in time. Cliffside Park has been liberal in their substitutions, trying to get fresh legs on the field. As I would imagine we are more than halfway past the midway point of the first half. As Fort Lee with possession on the far sideline. Trying to find the cutter, Kaplan across the middle. And does. Kaplan trying to set it forward. Knocked down. And Cliffside Park gets to it with Gomez. Gomez trying to get it a touch. Gamez could not track it down. Here's Gomez again. Taken down by the Bridgemen. So they look to exit their zone. Played wide, and now Fort Lee will have it. Again, looking for that late run down the far side, but the pass a little too ambitious and too long. That'll go out of bounds for a resulting goal kick. Buzek will boot it away. Contended by a pair of players, but headed forward by Cliffside Park. And then kicked out of the zone and past midfield into the Cliffside Park defensive zone by Fort Lee. Trying to find Marcus Lee again as he's running forward, this time down the near right flank. He's been operating also on the far side wing at points throughout the course of this first half, so he's trying to get some running room, trying to get going. Headed right towards goal, but taken on one easy bounce by Buzek. But the best build-up in quite some time in the first half here by Demba Maine's Fort Lee Bridgman. Took a weird second hop and carom, and Fort Lee not able to get to it in time. Trying to play it up to the near side was Velez. To the near side. Vagapov was trying to get that one down to his teammate. Got deflected out of bounds. Now an opportunity presenting itself here for Fort Lee deep in the offensive end. As the Bridgman will have, we'll see if it's going to be a resulting corner or just going to be a throw-in. It will be a corner kick from the near side. Bridgman nearly scored off a corner on the opposite side of the field back in the opening stages of this first half. There's a winding shot, and that was a good one. That forced Buzek to help make the save, ranging over to the near post side of the foot of Azimil Vagapov. As Vagapov was searching for what would have been potentially his third goal of the season. Playing the ball wide to the far side. To Urso. Good footwork inside the box is slow. Offering there, easily handled by Fort Lee. No real velocity to speak of on that shot. Easy pickings for the senior. And again, we remain scoreless here in the first half. Official time being kept on the field. With a technological issue with the scoreboard here at the Sugarman Sports Complex. We'll find out exactly when you still do at home when this half is over. It is in the hands of the two officials. So look down at their watches and blow the whistle when the first 40 minutes are in the books. Headed out of trouble, but then an eventual shot and score! And Fort Lee with a laser beam finish have taken an early 1-0 lead. That was an incredible finish. As looked like it was Kaito Shinoda who was the man who found the back of the nets. That was a laser beam. Buzik had a couple of nice saves in the last couple of moments, but Fort Lee found pay dirt in the back of the net. And now the Bridgmen have taken a 1-0 lead against arch rival Cliffside Park here at home in the first half. A 1-0 lead as Kaito Shinoda, the senior. Again, a work of individual brilliance there, blasting that one past Buzik for the first goal of the game. Played to the near side. Stolen away by Cliffside Park, stolen right back by Fort Lee. Little tug into the jersey going on, and a foul is going to go against Kaplan and the Bridgmen. Free kick upcoming just shy of midfield. Valdez will trigger the restart. So Cliffside Park playing from behind now, something that they have not often done so far this season. That service carries out of bounds all the way to the far side. It'll be a throw-in the defensive third for Fort Lee. So the Bridgemen have staked themselves out to a 1-0 lead here in the first half. Cliffside Park trying to build up the counterattack, but couldn't save it from going out of bounds right near the home sideline. So in that amazing season 2 seasons ago for Fort Lee that saw them win games in both the county and state tournaments and capture 12 wins in a 12-7 season. An interesting little caveat in that year, fans, is that Fort Lee, despite having that great run and getting double-digit wins for the first time in a long time, they still were not able to bring down Cliffside Park in any of their meetings. They could be in position here to do just that as they lead here in the first half. Trying to win back the ball. Good physical play. A chip shot. And just no accuracy on it as that went out of bounds behind the net. But Lee was trying to body up with a couple of the defenders to win back that ball. He did just that and was then able to take the shot, even though it went wide of the mark. So it remains a 1-0 advantage for Fort Lee here in the first half. Anabi getting it down the other way. That's going to be another whistle, as this time Cliffside Park guilty of committing the fouls. Sent long the other way. Out of bounds, last touch off of Cliffside Park will be a resulting throw-in now here for Fort Lee. Bridgemen get to it. Trying to maneuver their way inside the box. It's popped up again, and Fort Lee not able to save it as it rolls out of bounds past the end line. Goal kick and possession upcoming for Cliffside. Cliffside Park trying to get to it over to the near side. Over to the near side. Cliffside Park doing the 1-2. Tried to fit that one in just behind the last defender for the Bridgemen. Fort Lee game and up to the challenge right now with their defensive strategies and assignments. Fort Lee rolling it off to space in the far side. It comes to Lee. Trying to play it up. Here's a cutting ball. Good opportunity. Trying to make a full field sprint down the near side was Vigapov, but he couldn't get to it in time. Tyler Puente setting it up. Karik going wide with it to the far side. Cliffside Park again. Curling ball from the far to the near side. Trying to cut forward was DeUrso. And that'll be last touch out of bounds off of Cliffside Park. That'll go out for the resulting goal kick now here for Fort Lee. Got a 1-0 lead for Fort Lee. The Bridgemen trying to get a result here at home. With a win, it would get back to 500 on the season. That would immediately put them as one of the favorites to possibly win the big North American division this year. Fort Lee sitting in second place, 1-1 record. Cliffside Park, perfect 3-0 record in league play. Dwight Morrow, Ridgeville Park just behind the Bridgman at 1-2, and the same could be said of Dumont. And now a foul against Cliffside Park will set up a good set-piece opportunity here for the Bridgman as we're closing in closer and closer at the end of this first half. Fort Lee's got to be careful here off the set piece last time. It led to a breakaway for Cliffside Park. A low-lining shot, easily going to be handled there by Buzek. Read it all the way. Will gather it into his hands and now trigger the restart the other way. Line and kick over to the near side, handled by Gomez. Gomez pops it straight up and then also out of bounds. Second time that we've seen a ball going into the bleachers here in the first half. As Fort Lee is trying to restart all the action, but again, give the possession right back over to Cliffside Park. Costa down the near side. It goes out of play, so that's going to be a throw-in to the near side. So Cliffside Park, despite being the team that is unbeaten on the season and certainly has that pedigree of success in the last couple of campaigns, they're the ones trailing right now as Fort Lee trying to take care of business and produce what would clearly be their finest performance of 2023. Both players, both each number 7, were jockeying for possession, and Joe Acosta of Cliffside Park drew the foul against number 7, Vagapov of Fort Lee. So it's going to set up a set piece here for Eric Valdez. With his left arm up in the air, Valdez with the service to the far post side. Header attempt by Cliffside Park is off the mark to the far side. Little whistle sound as subs are made also as well. Again, if you're just joining us, the scoreboard is turned on right now, but unable to keep the time. So the time is being kept on the field by the 2 fluorescent yellow referees. We will find out from them when the first 40 minutes have expired. 1 goal lead for Fort Lee against Cliffside Park in this rivalry that is so heated no matter the sport between these two teams. Played over to the far side, out of bounds. Will be possession and a throw-in upcoming here for Cliffside Park. Played forward. Try maneuver in tight quarters. Unable to get there that time, trying a little bit of a frustration foul was setting up there for Landon Kaplan. Kaplan was trying to be the one initially with the dribbling to get around a couple of the defenders, but then went through a defender to try to recapture possession. So the foul against Fort Lee, possession now over for Cliffside Park. They've had more of the possession on offense in this first half, but Fort Lee has the most important thing in their favor. That's the 1 goal on the scoreboard. Played over to the far side. Now try to link up with Lee. Lee trying to fight back for possession and wins it off of the foot of Gomez. But then Lee spun around a little too much, lost possession behind himself. So that will be the final whistle to end the first 40 minutes of action here at the Sugarman Sports Complex. One half is in the books, and Fort Lee on top of Cliffside Park by a score of 1-0. Kato Shinoda was the man who had a beautiful finish on the strike that has given the home side a one-goal lead. We head into halftime. We'll be back as we will get back to the resumption of play to start the second half. You're watching Fort Lee boys soccer action here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. Welcome back here to the Sugarman Sports Complex. Just underway for the start of the second half. A 1-0 lead right now here for Fort Lee on top of Cliffside Park. Cliffside Park in their road whites, Fort Lee in their home black uniforms. The official clock is being maintained on the field by the referees. Just got underway with the start of the second half. Dan Long, Dimitri Nanis, Kelly Lane, so glad you could join us here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. As the Bridgemen trying to garner their top win of the season here and hand Cliffside Park their first loss of the season in the process. Kato Shinoda was the man who fired a laser beam of a finish in that first half to give Fort Lee their current 1-0 advantage. Grant Kang, number 6, will throw it in from the near side. Trying to link up with Marcus Lee. Lee getting around that defender, chipping it over to the far post side. And it didn't miss by much there, as not only was he trying to look for maybe a running teammate underneath it, but it was curling so close to maybe getting it into that far corner. Cliffside Park had the majority of the offensive time of possession in that first half, also had some brilliant scoring opportunities of their own. They just were not able to cash in. Max Kurtumov made a great save on a breakaway chance to preserve at that point a scoreless tie that eventually led to the goal by Shinoda. Played over to the near side. Valles was not able to keep that in play, and a little frustration starting to show from the visitors. Coming into play today, Cliffside Park had 14 goals scored, only 6 goals allowed all season long. Fort Lee with their goal here today have now scored 9 goals while giving up 11. And this their 7th game of the season. And a misplay on the far side, last touch out of bounds off of Fort Lee, so it's going to be a throw-in right in front of the Cliffside Park bench for the Red Raiders. Little pushing and shoving, possession still being kept in play inside the box, and now Fort Lee trying to get it out of their own defensive zone. So again, both teams starting to get a little more physical here, and the officials letting them play. Goes out to midfield as Lee gets knocked off the ball. It'll be last touch off of Cliffside Park, so it's going to be a throw-in right in front of the Fort Lee home sideline. Bridgman and trying to, again, build on their 1-goal advantage. Fort Lee advanced to the semifinals last season of the 2022 Bergen Cup tournament before losing to Pascack Hills. 8-9-2 record a season ago. They went 12-7 2 seasons ago on the way to a historic campaign for Coach Demba Main. Cliffside Park, again, they are off a 13-2-3 season that was cut short in the quarterfinals of the postseason with a surprising elimination at the hands of Mendham, 1-0. This is a team that went to the semifinals of the Bergen County tournament. Get a little contact as getting knocked down momentarily was Daniel Gomez for Cliffside Park as Lee was trying to go airborne with that opportunity at a header. Quick restart there for Cliffside Park over to Rua. Rua, the man with the ball at his feet, he had the best opportunity of the first half for Cliffside Park as he had the breakaway that was denied by Kurtumov. Edwin Chicas now will throw it in from the far sideline. Pinballs around inside the defensive box as that is knocked out of bounds. Last touch off of Fort Lee, so they will surrender a corner kick. And here's an opportunity for Cliffside Park on a set piece to try to draw level here this afternoon in the opening stages of the second half. The official coming over and talking things between two of the players that are trying to jockey for that position on the far post side. Again, this corner will be taken by Cliffside Park on the far corner flag. Rolls inside the box, was trying to link up with Reyes. Good defensive work there by Fort Lee, but possession is won back. Deflected shot just in the outer edge of the box. Good defensive work deep in their own end by Fort Lee as that rolls out of bounds. Quickly the restart given back to Cliffside Park. Fort Lee has done a very nice job defensively here today as that is skied and shouldered awkwardly out of bounds to the near side, but conservative play there in the back line, but a smart move by Fort Lee to get out of harm's way. They'll just surrender a throw-in to the near sideline. Again, it is a 1-0 lead for Fort Lee here in the opening moments of the second half. Time is being kept on the field by the officials. The score is accurate that you see in your picture-in-picture in the bottom right-hand corner. Shinoda with the goal that right now would stand as the difference. At midfield, knocked off the ball. Another throw-in attempt here for the Red Raiders as they play it to the top of the box, headed forward. Still not out of harm's way just yet. As Rua gets to it, pops it right up in front of the goal mouth. And good job there of Kurtimov of just snatching it into his clutches right in the near post side when that was getting so tantalizingly close for Cliffside Park to find the equalizer. They've been putting the pressure on the back line of Fort Lee for the last couple of possessions in the last couple of minutes. As the Bridgemen now try to garner a little possession time in the offensive end themselves, but that pass was off the mark as they were trying to link up with Ben Kang down the near side wing. As that goes out of bounds. Again, 60 degrees, swirling wind. It's been raw and colder weather here with rain all through the last couple of days and this past weekend. That weather has continued here, but still playable. It's not like where we were last week when it was torrential downpours coming down for the girls' soccer match. Player down behind the course of play for Fort Lee. Luis Rodrigo, the junior, number 16, who will have to limp off the field to the far side. He got banged up on the play. So with the injury, Rodrigo will check off the field to the far side. Coming back onto the field is number 26, Naoki Dartley. Here's a throw-in by Cliffside Park. Dartley trying to win back possession, nearly collided with his own teammate. Here's Shinoda, the goal scorer. Knocked off the ball. Fuller trying to win back possession. Down the near side goes Reyes. Knocked out of play again. Fort Lee was trying to re-trigger play, but the official had them walk it back a little further before attempting that throw-in. Sent into the box, and again, that went out of bounds past the end line. Will go out for a resulting goal kick. Fort Lee trying to snap a 2-game losing streak on the season and get back to 500 on the year. They're currently 2-3-1 on the season. Cliffside Park, they come in having won their last 4 in a row. Since opening up the season with a 2-2 tie against Tenafly, they are in danger of suffering their first loss of the season. Cliffside Park is 3-0 in league play. Fort Lee 1-1, Dwight Morrow behind, with Ridgefield Park and Dumont all with identical 1-2 league records. Nabi was trying to send that one forward. Again, it's going over to the far side and headed, and The oohs and ahs from the sideline assembled in the far side by Cliffside Park. Starting to see a little bit of frustration now really becoming visible for the visitors here. Anytime that the ball goes out of bounds, they're barking at the official to try to get some urgency in Fort Lee's ability to resume play. They know time is not necessarily on their side. Knocked out of play will be another throw in here for Fort Lee. Taken to the midfield. A centering ball, just a little too long. Good gradual advance. Now here's Dartley. Counterattack opportunity presenting itself for Fort Lee. As Fort Lee in the open field brings it over. Now from distance, just try to chip it in to the top side. Here's Dartley over to the near side. Dartley had an opportunity, trying to switch it over to his left foot. Didn't get the shot opportunity off, though. Good, solid defensive work on the near side by the back line of Jose Tunosorio. Tunosorio doing a good job of preventing that shot opportunity for Fort Lee. As that goes out of bounds once again off of the Bridgeman. And a pair of Cliffside Park substitutes come into this game. So wholesale changes being made here by Cliffside Park. A pair of subs coming into this fixture. More than 10 minutes gone by here in the second half. Still remains a 1-0 advantage for Fort Lee. It'll be a throw-in by Grant Kang, the sophomore. Finding Kaplan. Kaplan getting a possession back. Centering ball in the middle of the box. Right back to Kaplan with a right-footed advance, though. Taking shot wide to the left side of the net. That'll go out for a goal kick. Next league game for Cliffside Park after this one will be a road match on October 10th against Ridgefield Park. Again, they will finish off their regular season at home, hosting Fort Lee on October 23rd. Stolen away. Backline steps up and clears it harmlessly to midfield. Good hustle to the ball. A little pushing and shoving, and Lee was not able to get to it as Tunosorio did a good job of just having his body put in front of him. After this game, the next league match for Fort Lee will be on the road on October 2nd against Dumont, the team that they opened up their 2023 season with. And they defeated 2-0 here at home. Lee comes off. Marcus Lee, and in his stead, Daniel Lee, number 9. For Fort Lee playing up top as one of the two forwards. Played over to the far side. Now back to the center. Shinoda in the open field. Centering ball. But lurking on that far side post side was Busick. Quickly gets it down the middle of the field to DeUrso. DeUrso plays it wide. Good advance up the field now for Cliffside Park. Looking for a centering pass. Just near the end line. That's going to be tipped out of bounds. Last touch off of Fort Lee. So the Bridgman defense once again surrender a corner kick opportunity. As the corner will go to the far side with the wind gusting on that red flag. Here in the second half. Again, the time being kept on the field. It is a 1-0 lead right now for Fort Lee. Cliffside Park off the corner. With a runner now with the ball still alive, and eventually it is headed home in the far corner side. And Cliffside Park has run level here in the second half at 1-1. They score off of the corner. And the set piece on the far side It had been a center and pass. No one had collected it for Fort Lee. They couldn't get to it in time, and eventually it was tapped in. So the Red Raiders have drawn level at 1-1 here in the second half. Couldn't see who officially that goal scorer was for Cliffside Park, but nonetheless, we are all level at 1-1. So the Bridgemen are going to have to try to work again to try to recapture that advantage. There's Dartley down on the near side. Taken up by Kaplan. Kaplan doing a good job of aggressively stepping up. Kaplan getting to Dartley. Dartley has an opportunity, takes the shot. It was deflected on the near side. Dartley had a couple of great opportunities, but they're going to say no deflection. That went right off of him, so a missed opportunity there for Fort Lee. Just outstanding feed, an assist attempt there for Kaplan right at the boots of Dartley. But he hesitated too many times, and that allowed the defender then to close the gap. And then at the end, Dartley just missed it to the near left side. He was upset with himself as well, as he had a prime goal-scoring opportunity inside the scoring area. It remains a 1-1 game, as Fort Lee had something right there with the chance to recapture the lead just moments after Cliffside Park had scored on their corner kick. Headed away defensively, so it's going to be another throw-in here for Fort Lee deep in the offensive end. Try to keep it in play, and doing so just inside that end line. To the near side, it's Kang. Hanging to Dartley. Dartley trying to 1-2 with Kaplan. Stepping up defensively, making that deflection was Eric Valdez. Ricochet's last touch off of Cliffside Park, so Fort Lee with a nice build-up here offensively after surrendering that tying goal. Turning and clearing it to space is Cliffside Park, so that'll eventually go all the way out of bounds just around midfield. Kang, part of this sophomore class, a very talented sophomore class that is littered up and down the varsity's roster here for Coach Demba Main. As that was out of bounds, will be possession going back over to Cliffside Park. And Wilbur Morales will re-trigger the start of play. 1-1 the score. Cliffside Park in the white, Fort Lee in the black. Thanks for tuning in to boys soccer action here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. This rivalry renewed on the soccer field. Take it away. Here's Dartley. Trying to play it up to number 9, Daniel Lee. Subs being made as sub 2 coming back onto the field here for Fort Lee. And getting a bit of the breather, and now back onto the field is Marcus Lee, number 11. Crossfield delivery, fought for and won back. Good job by Vagapov. Vagapov right in front of the end line, trying to center that ball in the middle of the box. Lee keeping alive. Vagapov centering ball. That's a good one. On one bounce, knocked in front. But again, Fort Lee not able to collect it and then get shots off. They've had good run of success the last couple of minutes with possession. Outstanding anticipation that time by Samuel Choi. But he could not control it again to get the shot off. Fort Lee's winning the possession battles now. Now they got to build on that and also get some quality shot opportunities and test Busek as that goes out of play. Dartley tried a little back heel approach. Quick restart, D'Urso. Spreading it wide to the far side. Les was letting that roll to that far side. To Costa. And there's a diving effort of a save made by Kurtimov to the far side, preserving this as a 1-1 game. As Cliffside Park were not that far away from capturing their first lead of the game. Again, a long-distance, ambitious effort that time by Morales. Just goes right into the hands of Kurtimov, who made a diving save to his right post side to keep this level at 1-1. Tug of the jersey, clear as anything, as that's going to be a foul against Cliffside Park. Result in a set piece upcoming for Fort Lee on the far sideline. Fort Lee scored their goal in the first half. Cliffside Park has scored their goal here in the second. It is a 1-1 game in the first of two meetings of the season between these longtime rivals in the Big North American Division. Headed forward. Now a build-up here for Cliffside Park. Nice ball behind the defense. Chica's trying to track it down, but he can't. Little too long for him, as that'll go out of play with a goal kick. We're in the second half here. Again, time being kept on the field by the two officials. 1-1 your score. Throw in for Fort Lee on the far sideline. Agapov was trying to get to it, but he was being fended off by Daniel Gomez. It will result in a throw-in now for Cliffside Park. Next home match after this one for Fort Lee will come on October 10th when they host Dwight Morrow in the second meeting of the season. While Cliffside Park, their next home matchup will be on October 2nd as they'll host the Comets of Hackensack. As that goes out of bounds to the far side, it will be possession for Fort Lee. Played backwards. Now over to the near side it goes to Grant Kang. Kang gets that one stolen away by Gamez. Here's a build-up in the counterattack for Cliffside Park. Would step up and dispossession there by Fort Lee. As Dartley has it in the midfield. Tries to go diagonal with the pass to the far side. Gomez with the anticipation now plays it forward. Watanabe was trying to get to that. A collision ensues, and the foul is going to be against Fort Lee. So a set piece upcoming just outside the 30-yard line for Cliffside Park in front of their far sideline. They scored on a set piece on a corner earlier in the second half to tie the score up at 1-1. One-timed, but out of bounds and wide of the mark. So that'll go out of play. Kurtimov will do the honors of trying to restart play. That might be a handball, and now the whistle sounds, as that was clearly a handball against Cliffside Park as they were advancing around the 20-yard line. So the set piece is going to be going back over to Fort Lee. Laid along the near side to Kang. Great Grant Kang. Draws a long ball, trying to stretch the field now for Fort Lee back into the offensive end. Here's Kang again. Centering ball anticipated and parried forward. Again, Fort Lee has done a good job of possessing at points in the second half. They need to get some shot opportunities. Into the box it goes. Again, Cliffside Park able to sweep it away out of harm's way. It'll be a throw-in now on the near sideline. Kang looking for an outlet. We'll throw it down the near sideline. Again, that's played out of bounds. Last touch off of Fort Lee, so it's going to be possession and a throw-in the defensive end of the field for Cliffside Park. And Cliffside Park, no strangers to playing in tight games so far this season. 3 of their 4 wins have come in 1-goal varieties throughout the course of this 4-game win streak. As that was stolen away by Skylar Carrick, number 22. Cliffside Park getting entry into the zone. Slid away, and who is going to be deemed to have gone off of last? And it looks like it's off of the attacking player for Cliffside Park. Will go out for a goal kick. Again, we're in the midst of the second half. The 1-1 score is showing how tight this game has been. Fort Lee led 1-0 at the break. Cliffside Park struck for the equalizer here in the second half off of corner kick and the far side flag. Played wide to D'Urso. Gomez sending it to the top of the box. Knocked down Chicas. Fort Lee still not able to cleanly clear it out of their own end yet. Cliffside Park does get it into the far side, but they're going to call Cliffside Park for the right call. That was the hook. On a chicken winged against the Fort Lee defender. Now trying to go and free Dartley in space. Dartley not able to run underneath that. He had the best scoring opportunity of the second half for Fort Lee, but just shot it wide as he was inside the scoring area. Over to the far side it goes. Now here's a centering opportunity. Shinoda, who had the goal for Fort Lee, now playing it to that far side. Here's Dartley, sending it forward. Was trying to get to Marcus Lee. That far side, trying to link up with Vagapov. Tracks it down before he was going to go out of bounds. And does earn Fort Lee a corner kick, as it was deflected last touch off the defender for Cliffside Park. So a corner granted to the Bridgeman on that far right side. Looks like a sub is being made as well as Dartley limps off the field. He was stretching in the last couple of moments for the Bridgeman. So some fresh legs onto the field as the home side looks to recapture their lead late in this regulation. Cliffside Park scored off a corner kick. We'll see if Fort Lee can be able to return the favor here in the second half. Deflected off the back of the defender. So once again, we'll have a corner kick for Fort Lee in the far corner. Fort Lee looking for one more moment of brilliance here to take back the lead. Chipped from distance and just going over the top left corner and out of play. as that goes out of play and will be a goal kick upcoming here for Cliffside Park. That might be a handball against Fort Lee, and it will be. So it's going to be a set piece upcoming here for Cliffside Park, as Samuel Choi was the guilty culprit as it came up on his hand. And this sets up a scoring opportunity here for Cliffside Park near the end of regulation. Eric Valdez will be in charge of this set piece delivery now for Cliffside Park. Again, they scored off of one set piece on a corner on the far side. Now the near hash mark side here, this comes from around the 25-yard line. Going towards goal, and that one went well high and wide. That'll go out of play for an ensuing goal kick for Fort Lee. Both teams each with one tie this season. Cliffside Park had their 2-2 draw in their season opener against Tenafly, while Fort Lee had a scoreless draw against Nutley on September 16th. Stolen away from behind, now played over to the near side as Davi Dos Santos tries to track it down. Dos Santos stepped on top of the ball, and he's going to be the one that touched it last, despite his protests. The official not falling for it and points to the goal kick area. Lined over to the near side to Grant Kang. Kang tries to play it up. Not enough zip on that pass. Here's Shinoda in the midfield. Gets his pocket picked by Reyes. Good defensive work that time by Michael Conta. Fort Lee trying to gradually build up some offensive spark here to the near side. Here's Kang again, who's going to be throwing it back into play. Was looking for Marcus Lee. Defense came over to erase that opportunity. Here's Dos Santos. Dangerous down the near wing. Trying to curl around it, D'Urso. Cliffside Park trying to maintain possession, they do. Deflected off of the back of Karik to the far side. Both teams fighting and clawing for the possession, and eventually it will go over to Fort Lee. Dartley comes back onto the field as a sub for Fort Lee. Still seemed to be laboring a little bit as he checked back onto the field. From the far side, headed forward. Fort Lee knocks it down. That goes out of play. That will be a resulting throw-in here for Fort Lee. So time is of the essence for the Bridgemen. They're looking to have a result of a win here today. 1-1 your score. That shot from distance blockered away. And now here comes Dos Santos, 1-on-3. Conta was trying to win back possession, but a foul was whistled against him. So it's going to be a free kick upcoming for Cliffside Park. They'll have it back at the 45-yard line. Cliffside Park coaching staff not content with just the foul call. They were looking for some cards being shown as well. The free kick. Driven close inside the box. There was a man down there open for Cliffside Park, but unable to get a header on it was Jose Ortega, number 19. Again, we will find out when you will, when this game is over, as time is being kept by the officials, as that caroms into the side of the net on the far side, but is kept in play still. Dos Santos whiffed at that first chance. Again, it goes into the box, semi-deflected, and into the hands of the keeper. A couple of defenders talking things over with the official on the near side. I think they were trying to say that hit the outside of the post and should have been a goal kick. Instead, it caromed back into play. Cliffside Park was not able to cash in on those opportunities. A hard challenge there on the far side, and that's going to be a foul whistled against Cliffside Park. So now the officials are talking things over. We're hearing from the opposite side of the field the clear protesting going on from the Cliffside Park coaching staff and a lack of a card given against Fort Lee, and resumption of play is upcoming. The ball's going to be a free kick for the Bridgemen, handled at their own 30-yard line. We have to be closing in on the end of regulation relatively soon. It is a 1-1 game right now. Fort Lee led 1-0 at halftime. Cliffside Park drew level here in the second half off a corner kick. The far side again, trying to dump that one off of the far side angle. Here's Dartley stealing back possession. Again, a long-range shot attempt from the 20-yard line, deflected away easily by Cliffside Park. Fort Lee just cannot gain entry into the offensive zone. Here's the dangerous Dos Santos, taking it wide to the near side. But he can't get past that first defender. Great, outstanding individual effort there by Fort Lee. As that was Samuel Choi, number 2, going toe-to-toe with one of the top players for Cliffside Park. Here's the build-up for Fort Lee. Give and go. Dartley takes the shot and scores! And just like that, Fort Lee has taken back the lead. Naoki Dartley makes amends after he had a missed opportunity. As Dartley swung and missed on a couple of great scoring opportunities back in the early stages of the first half. And he was upset with himself knowing he had a prime goal-scoring opportunity to maybe give his team back the lead. Now this time, Fort Lee will have Dartley cash in on that go-ahead goal. As it looks like Dartley was also issued a yellow card, and he was asking to be subbed off anyway. So Fort Lee has recaptured the advantage on the Naoki Dartley goal. On that build-up there in the waning moments of this second half. And Fort Lee is closing in on a win against Cliffside Park. And it would be potentially the first loss of the 2023 season for the visitors. If they cannot come up with the equalizing goal, they would hand Cliffside Park in the process their first league loss of the season and would move Fort Lee and Cliffside Park closer to each other in the standings. 4 minutes remaining in regulation. So Cliffside Park, you know, is going to have that sense of urgency. They're going to be trying to throw the kitchen sink. Now it's going to be an opportunity here. It's going to be a resulting corner kick awarded. This is where Cliffside Park scored from this identical location earlier in the second half. So with under 4 minutes left to go in regulation, Cliffside Park trails Fort Lee by a score of 2-1. Service over to the near post side, headed, but out of play. Joe Acosta off the mark on that attempt on the header. And Fort Lee will take their sweet time before resuming play. Again, under 4 minutes is what we've been told left to go here in the second half. A 1-goal advantage for the home side. Fort Lee looking to engineer what would be easily their most impressive victory so far in 2023. And snap a long losing streak against Cliffside Park in the process as well. Fort Lee will have one of their defenders to restart play. The clock had been stopped by the officials, so all this time was not being counted off against the regulation time. As Lee gets physical in the midfield, he's going to get called for the foul. Now the clock will stop, and will a yellow card also be issued? And it looks like a yellow will be shown to Marcus Lee. So Lee gets shown the card. I don't know if that was for the initial push or for the kick of the ball afterwards out of bounds. So Marcus Lee will be sent off the field. Free kick coming at midfield now for Cliffside Park. Valdez sending it to the top side of the box. Fort Lee trying to win back possession, and that's going to be a hard and late challenge against Cliffside Park. Daniel Gomez was trying to slide tackle that possession right back. Cliffside Park trying to get the resumption of play quickly, and Fort Lee again does not have to grant their requests. They'll take their time before restarting. Under 3 minutes left to go here in regulation. That's going to be a foul against Cliffside Park. They use that free hand and that free arm, so the foul will set up a free kick now for Fort Lee. Bridgman scoring once in each half here today. Once in the first, once more here in the second. That goal just moments ago by Naoki Dartley has given Fort Lee back the lead at 2-1. They led earlier 1-0 at the break as well. Shinoda, who scored the first goal of the game, will handle this set piece. He'll send it towards net. Knocked down before it could get to the keeper. Cliffside Park brings the service over to the near side. Dangerous challenge attempt there by Fort Lee. The defense gets to it. They'll play it wide to the near side, just too long of a lead pass. Anxious moments of defensive work right now for the Bridgemen. They'll play it once again out of bounds to the near side as the referee takes a look at his watch. Only he knows how much time is now left to go in this game. Headed forward into the box. Cliffside Park trying to track it down before it goes out of bounds. They'll throw it back in. Dos Santos back heeling it over to the far side off his line, but an aggressive goaltending play and a smart one at that by Max Kurtimov. That's a do-or-die type play. If you don't get to it, you have a vacated net, and that's just a tap-in goal that would tie this level up at 2-2. Headed over to the near side. Here's Ben Kang. He'll just play it down the low side here. Just trying to use a little time. Fort Lee will earn themselves a opportunity here deep in the offensive end near the corner flag. That was great hustle by the Bridgemen of winning that possession and then deflecting it last touch off of Cliffside Park. Even if no offense comes to this, more importantly, precious seconds ticking away. As Fort Lee trying to engineer a big win here against an arch rival. One of the premier programs in boys soccer action here in Bergen County. And Fort Lee's trying to knock them from the realm of the unbeaten in 2023. Here's Grant Kang. Will throw it in. Again, how much time is left in regulation? Shinoda playing it forward. Rocket shot from distance. That curls its way with a little English on it. Bounce off the turf and had to be fielded by Buyusek. Cliffside Park getting a little space to roam down the far side. just saved it before it eventually was going to go out of bounds. That'll be saved, but it will be a throw-in just beside the corner flag. Cliffside Park trying to operate quickly. And the whistle sounds, and jubilation for Fort Lee as the Bridgemen beat arch rivals Cliffside Park by a final score of 2-1. Naoki Dartley proves to be the hero as he celebrates after scoring the game-winning goal. And Fort Lee with their best victory of the season, defeating Cliffside Park 2-1. The Red Raiders now suffer their first defeat of the year. They fall to 4-1-1 on the season, and Fort Lee back to 500 on the year as they go to 3-3-1. And now both teams with one loss apiece in league play, as Fort Lee is a half game behind Cliffside Park for the league lead. What a finish here. Adding to that drama is just not even having the time on display in the scoreboard and having to wait until that final referee whistle. But the final score says it all. Fort Lee victorious 2-1 over Cliffside Park. What a game indeed, and thank you to everybody tuning in here on YouTube. So for Kelly Lane and Dimitri Nanis, I'm Dan Long saying so long and congratulations to the Fort Lee boys soccer team, 2-1 victors over Cliffside Park. Take care, everybody.